Alright, this is my mortgage calculator and amortization schedule. Um, so the way that this works is you fill out everything in orange and then all the answers come back in blue. So for this example, if you borrowed like 350,000, this is the amount of the loan, not the amount of the house. But so if you borrowed 350,000 at 6.25% for 30 years or 360 months, your payment would be 2155. Um, and if you say that your first payment is due on 8/1/2024, your last payment will be due 7/1/2054, and then the sum of all the payments, which is what it sounds like, it's just the um, monthly payment times the number of payments, would be in this case $775,803. Um, so if you take the difference between that and the 350,000 that you borrow, the amount of interest you'll end up paying is $425,803. So um, you have that number there for reference. And then, of course, that's over 30 years. Um, the amortization schedule below this is using the data above. That 2155 is that monthly payment. The principal is 332, and the interest is 1822. Together, those make that 2155. And you can see as you go further into the future, the amount that you pay in principal goes up while the amount you pay in interest goes down. So like say here at month 20, you pay 366 in principal instead of the 332, and you pay 1788 in interest instead of 1822. So when you chart that kind of thing out, looks like this. So the principal's in blue, the interest is in orange. You can see from an area perspective, there's more area shaded in orange than there is in blue, which means that you'll be paying more in interest. And when you go back to the calculator, you can see that that's true. You got about $70,000 more in interest than you do in principal at 6.25 for 360 months. This portion of the calculator, for the most part, is all like hypothetical stuff. So if you were to pay extra towards the principal, it'll tell you what effect that has on the overall mortgage. So say, for example, I pay $1,000 extra to principal. You can see that saves me two payments. And by paying that extra $1,000, I've knocked off $5,400 in interest. So at the end of the day, instead of paying $425,000 in interest, I'll be paying $420,000 in interest. And then here it just tallies up how much you pay. So like if you wanted to use this for an actual tracker, you could. And then over here you could just mark this as paid, and then it will tell you as time goes on how much you've paid in interest and how much you've paid in principal or extra to principal. So the same here. Say the next month you do the same. You can see you paid an extra $2,000 in principal, and how much interest you've paid so far are the 1822 and the 1815. That totals up to your 3638 in the amount of interest you've paid. You can also see too with that second $1,000 payment, you've now saved almost $11,000 in interest and knocked off 5 payments in total. So if you wanted to, you could actually use this for projecting as well. Doesn't matter what you do with these paid values here for the purposes of projecting, but if you do project, and say you want to look at what would happen if you paid an extra $1,000 a month for the life of the loan, you can just copy that all the way down. One of the things I didn't build this to do was to figure out like automatically like when the last payment would be, and then switch this from, you know what I'm saying, like it just doesn't continue on. You have to fix it. You have to go in and put a 0 here, just drag that down when you see the payment history they're ending. But anyway, in this case, if you paid an extra $1,000 a month on a 30-year mortgage, it would actually take it down to a 13-year, 10-month mortgage. Um, you would have saved 252,000 in interest payments. You would have paid 173,671 in interest, and yeah, so you can see how much you save. It's pretty substantial. Um, that's pretty much it. I'll just set this back. Oh, let's take a look at the charts. So you can also see here too, when you make those updates, the chart updates as well. Um, and then, of course, the amount of interest shaded in orange is a lot less than the area shaded in blue. So it tells you, obviously you're not paying the bank as much. Um, and just a side note, no mortgage interest is a write-off. If you make it's a write-off against earned income. So, um, if you're being taxed on your earned income at like 28, 30%, you're only saving 28 to 30% of the amount of interest you pay. And, you can still obviously make those claims even while you pay extra to principal, but, when you have all these set to zero, all right, 425,000 is obviously a substantial sum. And if you do zero point 0.3, so say 30% of your earned income times that interest, ultimately at the end of the day, you'd effectively be writing off about 128,000 in interest deductions over 30 years. Um, so over time, since the value of the dollar is going to decline, um, you get more of that interest benefit right off up front than you do later on. So anyway, it's just not. Do you really want to save $130,000 in order to pay 300,000? That's kind of the way that I think about that. Um, so I always tend to pay off the principal as fast as I can, so I reduce my interest payments, because I'm paying more to the interest. I'm paying more to the bank in interest than I am to the government in taxes, no matter how you break that down. So anyway, there's a couple little things in here that are kind of weird, like this -1. I think I haven't. This is pretty accurate. It's not entirely accurate. You might have to fit it for your situation, but there's this formula for Excel. The last bit here is a 0 or 1. You use that to indicate whether or not you make your payment at the first of the month or the end of the month. And sometimes, like, when you close, they'll take your first payment as part of the down payment. So you may have to play with that a little bit to dial everything into the penny. But basically, you're only talking like $1, maybe a couple cents in differences. So, if this is just an estimating tool, it's going to be good enough. If you want to use it for tracking, you can play around with this just a little bit to make sure that you've got it representative of your situation. So every time you make that extra $1,000 payment, even if it's at random, it's getting in, it's calculating all that saved interest correctly, to the penny. So, all right, later on.